Hey guys, it's Maymay, and do I have a fun folio for you guys today? And I have to be honest, we have worked so hard on this one. It has gone through change after change, but I'm excited to bring it to you. We're calling this one the Fun Fold Photo Tower, and you'll see why in just a few minutes. But first, I want to take you through the folio. So check it out. We've got a little handle on top, just made from cardstock. This one we did different than we normally do, and I want to show you because I want to talk to you about it. Look at how beautiful. I'm going to turn it sideways. You could do this way if you wanted to, 100%. Now, this folio has two sections and they are identical, one at the top and one at the bottom. I'm going to open this one up and show you what all's inside. Now, this is just a magnetic belly band. Okay. And you might notice that this is Fun Fold inspired also. We saw a card online that was folded kind of like this, and we're like, oh, that'd be a cool thing because we like the little bit of dimension here. So these guys come out like this. And when you get in here, there's a couple things. These came with the ephemera pack from Mente, and we thought this would be a cute place. This is a travel themed journal. We thought it'd be a cute place to have a place for journaling inside here, almost like they're old letters. So we made those up and put in here, but this is where it gets its name. This is the photo tower. Now, you guys have probably seen cards made like this. You can fold these up and put them in an envelope and send them out. This one in particular is not sized for a card size. This one is sized for 4x6 photos. We just thought it'd be fun to put something a little different in that pocket than we normally do. So that's what we did there. I'm going to show you how to do that today. Also, let me show you. You see this beautiful paper back here? If you will stick around after I assemble this guy, I'm going to show you a tool we made to make this happen. You might notice that we actually assembled this folio out of the decorator paper rather than covering solid paper. Now, in the video today, I'm going to make for you one out of solid paper because this is very hard to follow on camera. And I'll show you what I mean. What we did, this is the back side of the page, and this is the other side of the page, right? So it's very hard to follow that on camera. So we're going to do it with a solid color. Let's get started assembling, and then I'm going to come back and tell you all the tips and tricks to be able to do this. Now, the folio itself just starts with two pieces of 8.5 by 11. It's pretty simple to assemble. Inside, there's a pretty good bit of moving parts, but we'll get there. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is score at 1 3/4, then at 2.5. This is a 3/4 inch spine folio. We practiced it at 1 inch, but it was just too thick for it. Then we're going to score down here at 9. So I'm going to say those again for you. And don't forget, we put all of our measurements in the description and in the blog post for you. All right, so 1 3/4, 2.5, and 9. And you're going to do that twice. Now, I already have my other page done, so I'm going to move on to the rest of my scoring, okay? All right, then we need to make some of these little guys. We're going to be making a pocket that has a gusset. So these little pieces, you need 4 of these that are 1 inch, and each one is scored in the middle at half. I'll put it here and show you that. So I'm going to score it in the middle at half, and we're going to use these to do our pocket in just a few minutes. Now, these strips are our belly band strips, and they are 2x6, and you're going to want to score them a 1/2 inch in on one end. It does not matter, just so long as it has a 1/2 inch score on one end. Now, these guys we're going to use to make that photo tower. This is actually the tower in the middle. And what you need to do, this piece is 5 inches by 6 inches. On the 5-inch side, we're going to score it every inch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's going to help us make our tower. So I've already got one of those scored as well. Again, don't worry. All these scores and things are in the blog post for you. This is a part of our pull apart flap. So this is going to be what holds 2 photos, and we're going to attach another piece here. So what we want to do here is we want to score this one at 4, and we're going to score it at 8. Okay. You need 4 of these because you remember there were like 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So I already have my other 4 scored and ready to go. This is the little piece that's going to be that first flap that we pull open. And this guy is 3.5 by 5, and you're going to score it on the 3.5-inch side at half. And you need that 4 times. And then these are some cuts you're going to need later. These are just 4x6 rectangles, and you'll need these 8 times. This is to build our towers with. Okay. All right, let's assemble. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to my cover, and I'm going to do a fold and crease. So a little bit of Paper Crafters Calisthenics, fold and crease all the way down. And we're going to go ahead and fold and crease both of these pieces. Now, you might have made these folios before with me, and you might have seen this one and go, oh, I can figure that one out. You probably can, but there's a couple of things you need to do in a certain order. So if you'll stick with me, you'll be happier in the end, okay? So that's the first one. Let's do this next one. So we have both of those pieces scored and folded, okay? You're going to need a spine at the top. That's going to be our top there. And then our second spine needs to get glued here, okay? Very similar to how we do our folios all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this piece above this spine. So to the right-hand side of that score line, okay? Just like we've done so many times. So I'm just going to apply some glue here. If you're a sticky tape user, this is a good spot. Matter of fact, you could pretty much use sticky tape in this whole album this time because there's no place that doesn't, that it would get in the way. Everything would work. Our pockets are gusseted in this one. All right. Now, as I've told you before with art glitter glue, I think it works better under pressure. So what I'm going to do is press this down and just press that in. Some of my glue will seep out. I'm not going to worry about that. I just refilled my bottle, so I got to get used to it. That is always the case. All right. This little piece, this little flappy flap, leave it open. We're coming back to it. And this little flappy flap, you can tell those are going to be our pockets, right? Now, this is where what you put next matters, okay? So I'm going to move this aside, and we're going to work on the pieces that open like this. So let's assemble one on camera, okay? Because I'm using solid paper, the orientation is not going to matter. I can flip and fold these in any way I want. But if you're using a pattern paper, it's important that you know you're going to need one side to open like this, and you're going to need another side to open the opposite. So it would need to look like this. Now, this matters if you're using double-sided paper. Here it does not, okay? So I'm just going to assemble this. So I need to fold our little 1/2-inch score marks. And then this one has 2 scores. It has a 1/2 inch. And then it has a middle score. So I'm going to score that one or fold that one as well. Just try to get them straight and even. Okay. To the end that does not have the 1/2 inch, we want to glue this piece on. Okay. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to lay that little 1/2 inch piece and attach them together right here. And as always, you don't want to glue over your score lines. You need your score lines to be free so they can move freely back and forth. Just going to glue that down. And something I like to do is kind of pick it up and turn it down over the top. So that way I know it will fold and lay where I want it to lay. And then again, pressure. So now you can see this is side number 1, because it opens like that. Okay. I want you to assemble the other 3 the same way. Okay. We're going to work on the belly band now. And it's important that you do it in this orientation. Okay. Something I should have told you earlier and I forgot. We'll have this in the measurements for you. On the belly band, we want to do the 1/2 inch score, but I also want to put this in my scoreboard and I want to go over 1/8 of an inch and I want to score it 3/8 of an inch in also. And the reason for that is because we need a little more width on the edge of our belly band than we normally do. So you see I have 2 lines there. I have the one and the second one. And what that'll do is create for me, it's a little fidgety, don't worry, and this paper is very thick. But you see how it creates that little flat section? We just need that little bit of lift right there to make this one happen. So on each one, put it in to 3/8. I have to see where my 3/8 is. There it is. So to 3/8 and give it another little score. And that way you can get that little bit of square on the end. I'm, normally a person that doesn't think this will make that big of a difference, but in this particular build, it really does because we're putting a pretty good bit of thickness right here. All right, now, again, all this matters, so pay attention to this, okay? What you want to do is you want to lay these guys down in kind of a dry run, okay? This is how they need to go. You have a left side and a right side. What you want to do here is you want to go ahead and glue this 1/2 inch piece to the spine of this piece. I'm going to show you that in detail, but I want to show you what we're doing here. We're going to pre-glue these. The reason is we want this to hide. We don't want this to show. So I'm not going to be wrapping this around the folio. We're going to be doing it inside, and I want to make sure this is inside our pocket as well. Okay, so here's what we're going to do to make this happen. I've got that one there. I know how it's going to go. So I'm going to lay this one out this way. And how I did this to get these the same on both sides is I took my ruler and I just laid it on my work surface and I went 2 inches up from the bottom. I just laid it there like that. I'm going to apply glue to the 1/2 inch section of the spine, not that 3/8 inch. What we want to do with that is leave that open. So you see how I've put it on the 1/2 inch section and not that little 3/8. Then at 2 inches, I'm going to lay this guy down and we're going to glue that 1/2 inch section to the spine. Now what's going to happen is our extra 1/8 inch is going to be laying over our photo mat, and that's what we want. I'll bring this up and show you. So I have the 1/2 inch glued down, but that extra 1/8 inch is not glued down. And you want to do that on all 4 of these pieces, but make sure you do that dry run so you know you're gluing this on the correct side. So like for example, I just moved that one like that so I know it goes here. So I come here, and by the way, this is 6 inches, so you can do this 2 inch on either end. It won't matter, you'll still get centered. And you will probably be slightly off. Do not worry about that. We can fix that with the magnet when we put them together. It's no big deal. You won't be terribly off, but you'll be slightly off. All right, so I'm going to put this aside because I know this is one piece. And now I'm going to take my others out and do them the same way. We want to do that dry run, okay? And then bring our belly bands over. And I'm going to put this one like this and move it out of the way for now. Then I'm going to bring this one up. Lay my ruler. You could mark this with a pencil. If laying your ruler doesn't work or if it makes you nervous or whatever, you can mark it. 2 inches up. 1/2 inch spine. And then glue that together. One more, and we're ready to put them into the folio. If you're not understanding this yet, stick with me. In just a second, this will make sense. All right, back to our folio. This is the top. This is the top pocket. This is the bottom. I'm going to work from the bottom because it's easier for me on camera for you guys. So we'll start here. Again, let's do a little dry run. We know that this should lay in here. I'm going to just flap it around like this. Okay. And we know that our other side should lay in here like this. Okay. So here's what we're going to do with them, with that little dry run there. We're going to come back here to the back, and only on the spine that we created for this to go into the book, we're going to apply glue. And you're going to be putting it on pretty good here. You might even want to use sticky tape here because of that little spine piece we added. I want to make sure I get plenty of glue, not a lot, just coverage. Okay. Then I'm going to pull this down like this in my hand, and we're going to go ahead and glue this down to the side at the bottom pocket. And when I get it in place, I'm going to lift up, but I got to get it in place first. Let's get that where I can see that in place. And I want to just check my pocket will lay down, and it does. Now, I'm going to have to trim that pocket a tiny bit. I'm not surprised by that. This is, cardstock construction, and that just happens. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to squish it down. So if all of this is not making sense, let me show you. Because I want this pocket to go over that, that's why we're installing it this way. And because I don't want this little flap on the back side of the album, that's why we're doing all this. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing over here. Just grab your little, I'm going to open that flat. Grab your little flap. That little flap, we're going to apply glue and glue it down. Again, at the pocket, and get your score line right to the edge. Now, even though these are pretty close, I want to show you. Do you see how I'm getting that resistance right there? This side I may not be. This side I think we could get away with. But what I'm going to do is just pick this little guy up here on the end, and I'm going to make a little slice off the edge. Just enough, kind of about a score width thickness. Just enough so it can fold without resistance. Let's see what that does. Perfect. That works just fine. All right, I want to do the same on the other side. Now, while we're here, we're going to close this up. I'm going to grab 2 of my little gusset pieces, fold this in half. I'm going to take some bulk out like I always like to do. So from the fold to the open side, I'm going to make some angled cuts. Really doesn't matter if they're a certain measurement. You're just wanting to get some of that bulk out of the way. Go ahead and do that to both of them. All right, we're going to glue this in. So I'm going to put glue on one side. And then this is going to get glued to the side of our pocket. Just lining up our score line to the side of our little cut pocket there. Crease that down. I'll leave that there while I put this one on this side. Now you've done all that work to cut this down and make sure that it's all going to fold up. So you don't want to let these guys hang over your pocket in any way. If they hang over, they're going to defeat what we did with that little trim while ago. All right, we're going to add glue and we're going to fold that up. And now our folio will be built nice and clean and all our little lines will be hidden where we want them hidden. You could even have taken the time to put decorator paper behind here and hide all that before you glue this up. So you might want to do that as well. So when we close this down, you can see how that goes like that. And this is where you'll add your magnet. Now, can you see how much height we have on those ends? That's why we needed that extra little bit of gusset down there. All right, so this is where we're flapping over, okay? And we can go ahead and put our magnet here. Now, I just use a small magnet, one of these guys, and you can do the same. This cardstock I'm using is super thick, so if you're going to do these many folds and things together, you might not want to use an 80-pound, or at least not a cover. This seems to be a cover, so you might want to use something a little bit lighter. So I'm going to put one magnet on this side, and I'm just kind of centering it there. That gives me plenty of room to glue all the way around. And I'll pick up that adhesive off the back. And then with everything shut where it needs to be, this is where if you're not perfectly straight on your belly band, this is where you can straighten it up. Let the magnet do the work, okay? Pretty good. And when you get all your photos and things on here, it's going to look even better. Okay, that's how you assemble the sections. So I'm going to go assemble this section and we'll get right back together. Okay, so I've got the top done and I've got the bottom done. I got to tell you, if you did this at Christmas time and you made this a Santa belt, I think that would be the cutest thing. Every time I look up at it, I see Santa belt and I think it would be adorable. All right, so we got these sections done. It's time to apply our magnets here. And what I want to tell you about this is I decided, because this guy's pretty sturdy, and by the way, he'll hold 24 photos. I decided to use the bigger magnets to close this down. So I'm going to put these in. I'm not going to put them in just yet because I don't know exactly how I'm doing the closure here, but I put one set here and one set here, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, that is how you assemble the folio itself. Now let me show you how you do the tower, the little photo towers to go in the pockets. This doesn't get any easier, you guys. I saw this all over Pinterest and also all over YouTube. These kind of, I think they're called tower cards. I saw at least one person call them a tower card. And I think they're really, really cool. I've actually had some people send these to me before, and I've never made one. And so what we're doing is we're just going around the internet and looking at different fancy folds of cards and seeing how we can put those into folios. And I think this is a really cool way. So this is those pieces we have that were 6 by 5, okay? And we're just going to make this. It's just a tube or a tower, okay? So we're going to do that twice. Now we're going to glue these shut. We're just going to add some glue to one panel. We're just going to close that into itself and make that square tower, that square tube. And you can even lay this down. And it's really a good idea to lay it down one way and crease it, and then open it up. And you might feel it move a little bit, or you may have to retrain it a tiny bit. That's fine. The biggest thing is you need this to lay flat in both directions for this to work. Okay, so now mine will. So you want to do that. We're going to do that to both of these towers. Now, once you've got your towers done, here's what you'll do. Those pieces that we made earlier, the 4x6 pieces, you're going to need 4 of these per tower. So I'm just going to separate out 4 and put 4 at the top there. And we're just going to start gluing these onto these little side panels. It's super easy to do. So I'm going to start here. The trick with this one is you want to make sure you don't overlap. You don't have this wrapped over. You want to have this end at the edge of the tower. So I'm going to stand this up and press that down so I get a nice flat edge here, and make sure that that is pressed on nice and square. Okay. Now, this is the best way for me to do it. Okay. I like to look at it like this and then add the next piece because I know it goes right there. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to test it every time. So apply glue here. And this time we can just press it in. You want to get super close to that last piece. You don't want to push it up against it too hard, and you still want this guy to shut. because we're going to be putting this flat into our folio. So as long as that can lay flat, we're good. Okay. So then I'm going to stand it up again. This is how I like to do it. Stand it up, and I'm just going to check my work over and over again. Okay. So I've got that one done. Now I know that this one goes here. And again, let's put it there, but let's make sure we can lay it flat, because that's what's going to matter most. And it also helps me to line up my photo or my mat. All right, so we've got 3. Now we're going to turn it and add the 4th. Glue that on, make sure it lays flat, and we're good. We're going to do that again with our second tower. I just think this is something fun and different to add into a folio. I just think that when whoever's looking at it, they pick it up and they're like, "Oh, look at that." And we were playing with it. We kept like flipping it back and forth. And that's kind of what you want. You just want the interest. We kept doing like this, and it's just fun. And you'll have a spot for a 4x6 and a 4x6 and a 4x6. It's kind of neat. And you could even stand this up and have like a photo carousel, would be super cute. Now, I keep saying 4x6, but this piece is 4x6. So your photo will either cover the whole thing, or you'll need to trim it down a little bit to give yourself a border. We always trim them down. All right, let me make the second one. So now I'm going to go back to my folio. I'm going to open this up. And the whole reason we had to do a gusseted pocket is so that these guys would fit in here. If you don't gusset that pocket, then you don't have room to glue them down. And that's why we did that there. All right, so we'll get that one shut inside. Come down here, put this one in. All right, that is the basic build of the folio. Now, don't go anywhere. I'm not done. I want to show you some tips and tricks from our finished one. So let me grab it and talk to you about that one. A couple of things I want to show you on this one. Probably my favorite thing about it is how we hid the magnets. Okay. So because we did not layer paper on top of here, because we did it with double-sided paper, do you see our magnets? Aren't they adorable? These are from the ephemera. Those are actually little paper buttons from the ephemera. Now, if you don't have paper buttons, one thing you could think about, you could just use circle punches and put little dots for buttons. And I know I have a punch that does a button punch. Wouldn't that be adorable? Or you could cut some from your Cricut or whatever. But I love that. So the magnet is not sandwiched in any paper at all. It's just a glued on button ephemera there. And we did it everywhere, even in here, because we made this with double-sided cardstock. You see, that's 2 sides of it, and there was no layers on it. So that's how we hid them. All of them are that way. I just think that is adorable. So you don't see the magnets. We just use the ephemera to hide it, and I love that. Now let me show you something else. This is what we built a tool for, and I'm excited to show you this. Okay, if I take all of these goodies out of here, and you see this area, do you see where that train is? Okay, we did that in both sections. We wanted to make sure, because these Mente papers are absolutely stunning, we wanted to make sure we showed off the paper. Okay, so there's the top, and that's the bottom. See how that train shows right there? Let me show you what we did to make that happen. So I'm going to show you with this other paper pack, because I think it is so pretty and I cannot wait to play with it either. So look at all these images. Aren't they gorgeous? All right, let me show you what we did. We knew that our piece needed to be 8.5 by 11. All right. I wanted to be able to find in this page what I wanted to be inside that pocket. So what we did was we took a piece of 8.5 by 11 acetate, and I ran some yellow tape around the edge just so I could see the edge, and we used it like a window. We laid it down and we just checked what we could get. If I lay it here, what you'll see is I can have that sunshine, because this gives me room for my spine. Let me scoot that down a little bit. Gives me room for my spine and my flap. The sunshine will show, this will show. What you have to remember is that your pocket folds up. So anything 1.5 inches from the bottom will be hidden. But rather than just willy-nilly cutting, I liked having this tool to help me find what I wanted. And on some of the pages, it was here. Some, it was here. I think on the second train, I had to go over here to the edge, which was easy. But being able to see through and seeing exactly what we're going to cut was really, really handy. Now, you could also just cut like a frame that you could just lay down, maybe for some chipboard or something like that. But I think this really works. Let's look at another page. So maybe you want this piece to show in your pocket whenever you're doing it. You would just place this. I would probably go right to that edge and see if it's going to fit. And see here, I can decide if I want to go this way or this way. Oh, and look, even that's cute, isn't it? So Consider doing this when you're working, especially with the Mente paper and doing something in the, double-sided paper situation. I think you'll really find that helpful. Let's bring the folio back over. The other thing I loved about doing the double-sided paper is there's so much less bulk, because what you'll find is we were able to come in and glue down our photo mats straight to one piece of cardstock instead of how we normally would have a piece here and then a mat and then a photo mat. This, if you're wanting to put a lot of photos in something, is a great way to do it with this double-sided paper. And you're going to be able to get 24 photos in here. The other one as well, but it's going to get thicker when you start laying more cardstock on top. It's doable both ways, but I thought this was really neat. Now, I know this album is a little busy for some of you guys, but here's another thing I loved about it. I did very little decorating to this thing. So if decorating is not your thing, using your double-sided paper to build is a good idea. All I did on the front, I took some of the ephemeras and glued them down to look like stickers on a suitcase. I made these little guys so easy. Let me show you. Using my stub and scallop punch, using the stub punch. These are 4-inch strips. They're 4 by 1 1/4, and I simply punch the corners here and then wrap them around, glued them down, and I put these little brads on. And then the handle is nothing but a 1.5-inch piece that I folded in half and glued it so it would be sturdy. So you can pick it up by the handle. I don't recommend it, but it is cute, isn't it? All right, the other thing on the inside that I think is so great, all we did here, because we used the paper for the belly band and everything, this is just a piece of ephemera, just one piece, and it doesn't look bad on the back because it's all the decorator paper. And in here, it's just ephemera laid on this pocket. And because this has decorator paper all throughout it, it works wherever you lay it. This is a great spot for journaling if you wanted to add some journaling spots there as well. And then also in those pockets. All right, so I'm going to put these back, and let's go back to these little envelopes. These came in the ephemera with the Mente, and they're just flat and you fold them. But how precious are these tucked in here? So if you don't have this, just make some little envelopes. Maybe use your envelope maker, or your scoreboard typically has an envelope maker on it, and just make some little envelopes. Slide some little paper in here to write some little letters about the event or the trip or whatever your folio is about, and what a cute place to put them. Okay, you guys, I hope that gave you some thoughts about folios. Maybe you've got something you need to be making some for in the future, and maybe this will help you get that done. I really love how this turned out using the double-sided paper and not even layering more on it. And in case you're worried about it being sturdy, it when you get it all in there, it is a very sturdy piece. I'll knock on it like I like to do to let y'all see how sturdy it is. But I just love how it turned out. All right, you know the deal. If you make one of these, I want to see it. Head to our customer gallery at MaymayMadeIt.com and share your photos with us. And if you need inspiration, don't miss the customer gallery. There are so many photos for you guys there. And also our Facebook group called Maymay Made It, and so did I. Lots of inspiration for you there as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, bye now.